Hi, we are Team 5 and we are presenting on stress in organization. We will bring you all through a story which consists of Jim, Mary, and Jeremy, who are three co-workers. Jim is a 26-year-old working adult who enjoys running during his free time. But how does he look like at work? He is constantly stressed, but why? This is because of his highly demanding boss, who often demands Jim to work overtime and also gives unreasonable deadlines for project submission. Jim's passive reaction is elevated blood pressure and usually reduces his anxiety generated by stress through running. Mary, a colleague of Jim, also experiences stress from her highly demanding boss. However, she reacts differently. Unlike Jim, she makes an active attempt to cope with her stress. She approaches the stressor, which is her boss, to confront her problems. So, why do Mary and Jim react differently? It's because they have different personality. Firstly, locus of control. Mary is an internal person, so she chooses to confront her stress directly because she believes this response will make a difference and that she's in control of her situation. But for Jim, who is an external person, he believes he can't control his situation, so he just relieves his stress by doing his hobbies instead of talking to his boss. Secondly, type A behavioral pattern. People with type A behavior pattern, they tend to be more aggressive and may display adverse physiological reaction in response to stress. For type B, they do not display extreme characteristics, hence less likely to experience stress. And lastly, negative affectivity. For people with high negative affectivity, they tend to view the world in a negative light, hence they are pessimistic and downbeat. As such, they tend to encounter stress. Remember the reasons why Jim experienced stress? They are stresses which are environmental events or conditions that have the potential to induce stress. General stresses are stresses that people in occupation industry experience. The few examples of general stresses are interpersonal conflict, family, sexual harassment, and job insecurity. There are 3 job level specific stresses. Firstly, we have executive and managerial stresses, which are faced by people who take on decision-making roles in a company. The few stresses that they face are role overload and heavy responsibility. Role overload occurs when one performs too many tasks in a short time, while heavy responsibility is caused by managers making decisions that will result in serious consequences in the company. Secondly, operative level stresses. They are individuals who occupy non-professional and non-managerial positions. They are likely to experience poor physical working conditions and poor job design. Poor job design are jobs that are too challenging or simple, which will result in stress when they are unable to complete tasks within a given deadline, or feel frustrated when they feel that they have capability to complete more complex tasks. Lastly, boundary role stresses. They are experienced by positions when organizational members are required to interact with members of other organizations or with public. For example, Jeremy, a salesman from Jim's company, he experiences stress from the frequent need for such employees to engage in emotional labor. When facing clients' unreasonable requests, he still has to suppress negative emotions or to exaggerate positive ones. With Jeremy holding a boundary role, he experiences burnt out, which is a symptom of exhaustion caused by the expectation of being able to change the world but unable to do so when encountered with troubled clients who are not appreciative. Because of this, Jeremy becomes cynical and distances himself from his clients whom he considers the cause of exhaustion. With serious cases, he might experience depersonalization, where he becomes less involved with what's going on around him and becomes preoccupied with his thoughts. This will result in social alienation from the loss of individualism in the workplace and the community. As they have different personality, Mary, Jim, and Jeremy react to stress differently. They thought about some of the psychological reactions they have developed in the past. They shared about some defense mechanisms that they had developed to reduce their own anxiety. Jeremy engaged in projection. Once, He bribed the government official into signing a contract with the company, but he told himself that it was the government officials that were wrong for accepting his bribes. In the recent months, he was consistently unable to hit his sales quota. With his many years of experience, he reacted by compensating his lack of sales skills by being a great mentor to his newer sales team member. Jim explained that he had engaged in rationalization by telling himself he was not promoted last year due to discrimination against homosexuals. He voted Jeremy to be the most popular employee of the year last year because everyone voted for Jeremy and he does not want to go against the majority, despite thinking that he was better suited for the award. This is a form of reaction formation. One time, Jim went home and abused his cat because he was scolded by his boss earlier on that day and was feeling bad. This is called displacement, where an individual redirects his feelings somewhere safe. Sometimes, stress leads to physiological damages as well. Jim's family doctor has explained to him that his work stress has caused him electrocardiogram irregularities and elevated levels of blood pressure, cholesterol, and pulse. The huge amount of stress he faced also caused him an onset of diseases such as respiratory and bacterial infections due to its ill effects on the immune system. All the stress that Jim faces has caused him to behave poorly. Jim started smoking cigarettes, drinking till late night. This act of substance abuse did not remove the stress, but instead left Jim in a worse physical and mental condition for work. Jim also goes into withdrawal by taking lots of medical leave and not showing up for work. At one point, he even considered quitting his job. However, these bad behaviors does not remove the stress Jim faces. Hearing Jim's bad experiences in coping with stress, Mary started to share how she positively manages her stress and stresses instead. She explained that she tries to solve the problem she is facing by removing the stressor or reducing its potency. She explained that problem solving is reality-oriented, and while it may not always be effective, it reveals flexibility and realistic use of feedbacks given to her. Some examples of methods she used to solve problems are dedication, time management, talking it out, asking for help, and searching for alternatives. Mary also suggested that one action Jim should take instead is to seek social support by forging close ties with other people. In turn, these close ties can affect stress by bolstering self-esteem, providing useful information, offering comfort and humor, or even providing material resources such as loan. Mary backed up her suggestion with research evidence to show that firstly, people with stronger social networks exhibit better psychological and physical well-being. Secondly, when people encounter stressful events, those with good social networks are likely to cope more positively. Thus, the social network acts as a buffer against stress. With Mary, Jeremy, and Jim experiencing all these stresses, what can the HR do to reduce stress in organizations? Firstly, to implement stress management programs. These programs can serve as a therapeutic function to effective employee and prevention method for healthy employees. HR can also implement social gathering to relieve stress. Secondly, is to implement family-friendly human resource policies. This is to make working hours more flexible and to narrow the distance between work and children doing. Also, to provide education on more efficient manner to provide care to their child so as to reduce the time needed for private work and hence more resources can be utilized on public work. And lastly, family counseling to tackle the problems faced by women and aid them emotionally. Thank you for watching the video. Now, please proceed to answer the questions on Google Docs. The Google Doc link can be found in the email that Prof sends. Thank you!